Everybody, welcome to Man vs. Tech, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Central. We have Kyle Souza, Chris Pettigrew coming to you live from the Woodlands, Texas. Hope everybody's having a great week. It is April, right? We got a little April showers bring May flowers situation going on. I know it's been pretty decent weather here, and hope you guys are having a good month as well. Welcome to Man vs. Tech. We're really excited about today. Kyle and I have been in the oil and gas business for ever. Couple of decades. At the end of the day, what we're going to talk about today is oil and gas royalties, the payment that you get for production of hydrocarbons from your oil and gas well. It's something that everybody ends up getting. If you sign a lease, you get a royalty clause, you get you may have a royalty deed, you may have rights to royalties, and so you should get a check at the end of the day. So that's
royalty owner, override owner, even MPRIs,
that's
working
right.
Interest owners.
You get a big payout, and that's what everybody looks forward to, right? So from the owner's standpoint, there's a couple of milestones you get. One, they approach you for leasing, right? And at that point in time, you sign a contract to lease your land to drill the well, and in that contract, you get a lease bonus. And that's the first payment that you're going to get. During that time, before drilling, that lease bonus is your monetary investment from the Black Gold Exploration Oil Company into the lessor. And the lessor is able to keep that money in lieu of production. Once production happens, the money turns into what you call a royalty. So kind of jumping right into it today, we're going to be showing a bunch of different things that talk about royalties. We're going to show some royalty checks. We're going to show some ways that you can get royalty information. And then at the end of the day, we're going to be showing off Intelli's revenue dashboard. Right now, it's strictly created to track oil and gas revenue. There is another version coming out that is made for the non-operating working interest partner or partner, that you can actually track jibs and cost and whatnot additional to it. So look for that coming out here in the future. We're really excited to promote the Intelli's royalty tracker. I think it's going to be a great thing for the average Joe that's out there that needs to be able to track their revenue. Right now, there's not a lot of different ways to do that. There are some major software systems that do exist, and we encourage everybody to go online to take a look at the different ones that are out there. It's important that you do keep track of your royalties that you're being paid out. So Kyle, what do you think are some of the reasons why we shouldn't just cash the check? Why should we capture data from our checks and look at the information from our checks?
Yeah, well, there's a couple reasons. One, you want to see if what you're getting paid on is consistent with the production that the well's happening. Are they maximizing their sales, or could there be some shenanigans going on with them taking deductions that they shouldn't be taking? A lot of leases have cost-free royalty clauses, things like that. And sometimes it's not always nefarious. Maybe I shouldn't use the word shenanigan, but sometimes things slip through the crack and oil companies will take deductions that they shouldn't take. And then also sometimes, because of the way billing works, sometimes you get billed for one thing, multiple times. Maybe there's something that got taken out last month and this month when really it should only be taken out one time. That applies more often to the non-op working interest partner than to the royalty owner. But I'd say the big two are making sure you're not getting hit with the deductions that you're not supposed to get, and making sure that you're getting paid on something close to what's being produced.
That's a wonderful answer. Just for everybody that's watching, the people that are going to watch in the future, this is not an educational course, a class on royalties. So we're going to talk about things in general. If you'd like to learn more about what oil and gas royalties are, you can always reach out to associations like the AAPL. You can go online and read all you want with them. You can talk with an attorney. The petroleum land management courses are great. They can take you through certain things. So today we're going to be talking a lot. We may not cover everything as an educational class because this is a webinar, right? We're here to talk on Webcast and have a conversation around it. So I think something that I find a lot of royalty owners or people who get a royalty check, a big confusion that they have is they like to look at volume sold on the royalty And sometimes they get that confused as the production of the well.
Exactly. And one thing that can happen that a lot of people don't realize is they may hold on to some production for a while before selling it. And so you might get paid in April for some January production.
That's exactly correct.
They can be those.
Yeah, you may produce 900 barrels and only sold 600. There's lots of reasons. I mean, it could be in a storage tank. It could be due to economic reasons. It could be usually it's just due to the fact that the purchaser themselves does not have the bandwidth to carry everything that you can create.
Oh, exactly. There's whole scheduling departments at midstream companies for how much oil somebody's allowed to flow through a pipeline or how much gas somebody's allowed to flow through, because this infrastructure network takes more than one company, right?
It does.
No
it's
one
many
owns
companies.
Well to distribution.
And it's not always to a pipeline. A lot of times it's to a truck.
Yeah, to a truck.
So a truck only has
tank.
an ability to hold what it has in the back of the tank. So if you ever get a chance to drive around outside of the big city, usually you'll see these oil tankers running around. And I'm not talking about the ones that go to the gas station, those type of things. These are transport trucks that are actually going out to the field and picking up directly from the well or from the tank batteries. And, they can only hold what they can hold. And they may be picking up from 80 wells in that month, or it could be a day, a certain amount of wells. You may have only signed up for a certain amount of distribution. That's another thing I've noticed, that people actually say, we're going to give this kind of volume to the midstream or to the purchasing companies. So if people are looking at their royalty check and they see volume sold, 100 barrels, what is a way that I can go find my production so I can get kind of a relation?
Well, two ways that come to mind. One, going to the state regulating agency, Texas Railroad Commission, Louisiana Sunrest, North Dakota Industrial Commission, Oklahoma Corporate Commission, etc. Every state has a regulating body where this information is posted. It's public information. You can go, if you have your well name, API number, some sort of identifying info, you can go find that well, how much was produced based on reports from the oil company to the state. That's required. There are also paid services that aggregate that information, like Well Database. That is a relatively low cost one. They basically get this information from various state agencies and bring it all into one place and do some normalization on it.
Yeah, so you have subscribing networks that you can go to. A lot of those that are out there allow you to gather information all in one place. So if you were to go outside of the subscribing networks, you have to go to the Railroad Commission for Texas or Sunrest for Louisiana. Yeah. And you'll have to go to each of those states' individual sites and go pull that production for your well. Right. Okay. So that's a good step. It's a good understanding, and it's something that you can track and you can understand. So if it produced 100 barrels, but you only sold 50, you're going to look for that matchup at some point in time. You're going to want it to catch up to itself. Sometimes it just never does. Sometimes it's always just a little bit behind. You can't expect that you're going to get 1-to-1. And then
when it comes to natural gas, the company may produce a certain amount and then also flare.
That is correct. And then gas is totally different than oil. You have gas balancing, you have gas chargebacks, you have I see in royalty checks a lot. It's April and we're still seeing January popping up. Back payments for natural gas, something that it got cleared out, something that just came in, something that was picked up. There's royalty checks can get very convoluted and complicated because of the difference of amount of information that may be in there, right? So let's just jump right into what starts in our world, in the energy world, a royalty, at least in oil and gas.
Well, I mean, they're going to get the division order, right? Before they get a check.
Yes. You'll get your division order. I think the first one, just showing the whole thing. I have a couple in here. Yeah, there we are. Okay. So really, this is a oil and gas lease. This is what you sign up for. So even before the division order, we're going to be looking right here at paragraph number 3. This is your start of why you get a royalty. You signed up for the oil and gas lease, and you can read in here. It tells you different things. Sometimes it'll tell you that you'll have a royalty for gas, a royalty for oil. Sometimes it's a royalty for both. Sometimes it says see Exhibit A to figure out exactly what it is. You want to look at your addendums. You want to look at ratifications. You want to find out what that royalty really is. But most of the time, it starts off in P3 of any kind of Texas lease. If you're familiar, you're a landman, or you're in the oil and gas energy business, you'll understand these type of things. The royalty clause is the rules of how you pay me my royalties. Sometimes they're very strict. Sometimes they're very not strict. right?
Yep.
So in this case, we want to make sure that we're being paid on all the oil and gas. And let's see if we have a royalty somewhere in here. Out there it is. We have a 1/8 of the amount. I'm sure that probably changes. I could go through this lease a little bit more. But I'm going to stop right there. That's the origination of a royalty. Comes by contractual obligation by the lessor to the lessee via the oil and gas and mineral lease or oil and gas lease or contract. The next step, you're correct, as the well gets permitted and drilled and it comes to completion, you should see a division order show up.
Yep.
And we'll get in, that's a whole nother topic, but it's just a piece of paper that validates your interest. It is a proportionately reduced interest. So it's based on your proportion of participation. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that too. So I won't walk you through this. It's not a division order class today. But you sign off on that, and that normally will allow you to get into what you call pay status with the operator. So you agree, they agree, everybody agrees to the interest. And the next thing you see is a check in the mail or an ACH direct deposit with a check stub maybe being emailed to you or an email notification telling you where to go get it, or maybe it just comes in the mail in general. So now you have to deal with that, right? And a lot of people that we see out there are just cashing these checks. They're keeping track of it by maybe operator, by a general ledger bank account statement. I received $100 from Black Gold Exploration. I received $2,000 from Texas T Oil and Gas Exploration. But inside of royalty checks, which is what we're going to talk about next and show next, is a lot of details, a lot of information here. So before we get into all the details, we'll talk about different ways to get it. In this case, Hillcorp is part of a network that's out there, and you can see they're going to tell you log into energylink.com to review the current and historical payment details and sign up for direct deposit. This company, Hillcorp, participates with the EnergyLink company and Hillcorp has to subscribe to EnergyLink, right? And so you must be a subscriber to the EnergyLink or as an operator to give this to your owners. And one is everybody on EnergyLink at the end of the day.
No.
Not all operators on EnergyLink. So there are a lot. Trust me, there are a ton. It's a great way to get information, but it doesn't cover everything that you have out there. Right. So people are left with what we're going to show next, which is a manual check situation. In this case, you would go to this website, you'd sign up as an owner, and you had the opportunity to download a paper or PDF version of your check detail.
Right, that's what you get.
You also have the opportunity, I believe, that you can download an Excel file that contains that same information. There might be a price behind that. I'm not exactly sure how that works. You please talk to EnergyLink. We have no relationship with them. We don't represent them. But knowing that this is another way that people go about getting their data, you may need to grab that data so you can go ahead and track it in your own certain ways. Yeah. I believe a lot of the Excel files are what they call a CDEX download, which is a type of file that a lot of accounting systems allow.
CDEX is a flat file. It's a text-based file that uses distance colonization, basically saying the first 2 digits mean this, the next 3 digits mean that, the next 4 digits mean this, the next 1 digit means this. It's a mess.
So the data wizard explains like that. I just look at it as a file to upload into accounting systems with all my information. And it automatically goes in because it's already formatted and we call CDEX uploads. Okay. So they go right into, usually if you have any kind of oil and gas accounting system, at least major brand names usually have a CDEX importer that's on there.
It's been around for a while.
Been around for quite a long time, actually. The EnergyLink, JibLink, all that has been around for quite a long time. I believe they're under the Inverus umbrella today, still operating under EnergyLink, JibLink, and a couple of other things. You can also find production information through the Inverus guys too. They have their
we used to be drilling info.
Well, used to be drilling info. May still be called that. Not exactly sure, but there's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting this information. So in this particular check, we don't have a listing of our stuff. We have to go to EnergyLink. We have to download it, and that's what we're going to do to get that. This particular check could be a part of EnergyLink. Maybe TG&RNA LLC is part of EnergyLink. If they are not subscribing, then this is what you're going to get. You could go to EnergyLink. You could try to find that operator. You could try to find yourself. You're not going to find it. They're not a subscriber. So now you've been delivered by mail, and I believe that's what this in this case is what it is, that it's been received by mail with the check. We have a $117 check here, and we have all of this data that goes along with the $117, right? Yep. And it's basically 17 pages of data that goes along with $117. So I think the big thing that happens with these royalty checks is a lot of people that are in the game really go, is the juice worth the squeeze? You know,
Exactly.
How much time does it take me to maybe hand key all this in? Is it, I'm probably going to spend more than $117 of my time. And I think that, you know, time is a variable to each person. Some people like to think about time as, well, I make this much an hour, so I should, you know, this is what it costs me per hour.
Yeah.
I used to think a lot like that. Now my time is judged by how I want to spend it. I look at it as, for me, it's free for me to give my time. It's my choice on whether I do it for a price or not. Okay. So, you know, you have to ask yourself a question. Do you want this information? Do you want to be educated to your asset? Do you want to understand certain things?
You know, I thought of two more reasons somebody might want to track these details. Shut-in payments, right? Your contract, your lease should have a shut-in clause on there. And if you're tracking production, you're tracking your payments, you know, hey, this well's been shut in for 3 months. I'm due a check, right? At that point, not getting paid means now getting paid. If you don't receive a royalty check for usually it's a 90-day shut-in clause, right? So if the well's shut in for 3 months, they owe you money, whether there's production or not being sold.
Yes, so that is correct. So we have $1 per acre shut in this particular oil and gas lease. And for those of you who may not understand, shut in, a well could have a problem. It stops producing for some reason.
Yeah.
It's not usually a stopping producing because of the well's dead. That's usually when you're in like a plug and abandon type of scenario. The well's over with. You're not going to produce anymore. It could be something broke on the well, something needs to be fixed on the well, or they're going to go back and rework it for a little while to get more production in. So you go into what they call the shut-in phase.
Prices are just low.
Could be economic. We saw lots of shut-ins happen over the 2020 crisis. Even in 2008 and some of the hurricanes, they do shut-ins offshore whenever the hurricanes came. You have a lot of different reasons that shut-ins happen. Shut-in is really something that's big, a big topic. I've taken probably 6, 7, maybe 10 types of shut-in classes in my decades of work in the oil and gas industry as a land professional. The word on the street basically is there's so many lawsuits about shut-ins out there. You know, people don't pay the shut-ins in a timely manner. And if you read your contract without, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm not here to give legal advice, nor is Kyle. We are just two guys working in the energy industry doing tech and working with just two guys. At the end of the day, you know, read your contract. In general, if you don't pay a shut-in within the time period, lease ceases.
Yeah,
okay,
it's a violation of the lease.
If you don't pay your royalty in the right time period, lease expires and ceases. So are there ways? You've got to check your contract. There's going to be ways to cure these things. It could be a notification scenario that you don't get paid. So sometimes it just instantly dies. So everybody has to keep a track of that, whether it be the royalty owner, the lessor, or it be the operator or non-working interest partner, the partners that are out there, watching through and making sure that these contracts stay in place, because no lease, no grease. Anybody who's been in the business for long enough will understand you're not drilling wells without an oil and gas lease. It doesn't matter what you try to do. And if your lease expires, for the people on the other end, Black Gold Exploration, Texas T, not really the royalty owner, now you are in a position possibly to renegotiate with the royalty owner. Could be a higher royalty. This case, we had a 1/8 is what we're reading right now. And we mess up. We don't pay these guys. We don't take care of our shut-in obligations. We end up expiring our lease. And according to my education, is there's no way to revive a dead lease. People try.
Once it's dead, it's dead.
Once it's dead, it's dead. So then you go into renegotiations. And at that point in time, Black Gold now has to give out a quarter royalty to this lessor, because time has passed. 1/8 is a very old thought process. The average royalties today range from 3/16 all the way up to 30%. I'd say most of the time, 1/4, 1/5. Pretty popular, depending on where you're at in the United States of America. So it starts off with the lease. We get into our royalty checks. Now, these royalty checks, just to kind of talk about what's inside of them. First off, some of them are real nice to us. They like to give us, you know, a legend that tells us what things mean. Grass processing tax, ad valorem taxes. What kind of interest are you? RI, an overriding royalty. In this case, the Blanchard interest comes into play, an excess royalty.
And one thing that could be complicated is you might have two different companies that both have gas processor taxes that use different codes. right?
Absolutely.
One might GP, one might be GPT. Your ad valorem tax might be A, might be AD, might be ADV, or on here it's AV.
Right.
It just depends on their coding system. So
it does. And there is not one accounting system out there.
No.
There are lots. Even there are many different versions of royalty checks that come out of the same brand name of accounting systems.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're pretty familiar with royalty checks. I mean, we've kind of one system I think has about 10 different styles,
yes,
versions coming out of the same brand name at the end of the day. A lot of that's caused by over time. Maybe it was a time, maybe it was a version of the software. Mm-hmm. Maybe they just changed something up.
The operator might want a custom version, or you might have some different needs for different states, and
true.
And the need and by different, it might just be a different order of columns, or one might have one thing extra that another one doesn't have.
So this check right here is very structured. You can see it starts with the property name, DCPC, entitlement decimal, DOI type, and they actually call it an RI. A lot of times I've seen a royalty interest, even for an override, called an R. Mm-hmm. They don't call it an O. It's RW, and that's it. Work interest or royalty owner. Yep. And it doesn't even state what kind of person you are. So sometimes you have to actually understand your interest that falls into this well, or the wells. Inside of your check, so this is a nice check. I like this check. It has a legend. It's easier for me to read. It's very clear about what it says. So we have a property number. This is a unique number that actually is to the operators out there. You won't be able to go to the RRC or Sunrise or Endrin or any of those things, even Well Database or even some of the services, and go run that property number. That property but the operator. That's right. It's their internal accounting number. However, you should capture that number because that number will continue to come in month after month after month. And it's also a great way to talk to your operator that's out there. They may not talk in API numbers, which are the universal codes through the state. You can go find those. Notice on this check, it doesn't have an API number. It does not list that, and most of them do not. Yeah, most of them will not give you an API number. So for the oil and gas professionals out there, you spend some time probably going back finding the API numbers.
It might be on your DL, but definitely on the state website.
Or you can go right to the state website, run the Lady Oaks Farms 20-2 alt HVLH, and you'll be able to grab that and accomplish that. If you're a bigger company, maybe you have a land department that's doing that. Accounting can talk to land, merge the data together. You may want to cross those property numbers together and start having a unique database. Here we have the date, the sales date, November 1st of 22. We have the county name, DeSoto County, and the state, Louisiana. We have an interest. It's a revenue interest, a royalty interest. We have a price that's given out. We have a volume that is sold. In this case, it looks like we're selling some gas here. $4.31 in MCF is usually how it is. We have 2018.28 volume. We have a gross value, which is this number times that number equals that number. And then you have a severance tax that they're going to take out. As a royalty owner, you should not be burdened. You should not be burdened. The keyword here is should. You could have marketing deductions for gas. Yep. As far as oil goes, you should not be burdened by anything but taxes.
Right.
And if you are and you're seeing deductions on your oil, go check your contract, go check with your operator, get back with them. This is one of the reasons why we recommend people to track what's going on in your revenue check.
They shouldn't be taking reworking fees, marketing fees, distribution fees. Those shouldn't be taken out if you have that cost-free royalty clause.
That's right. So if you have a cost-free royalty clause, you need to go check your revenue check. If they're starting to take deductions, you can get those taken off and paid back. Some companies really pay attention to it. Some companies just blanket bill people. Some companies do the opposite and never bill anything to anybody, even if they can. It just really depends on the company. I can't tell you which ones do and which ones don't. It's not like I have an encyclopedia of that. And I just said the word encyclopedia.
You'd have to dig through lawsuits for that.
Exactly. And you'd have to figure out what it is. But mainly, remember, this is within your realm. I look at a royalty check kind of like a paycheck. In my opinion, I wouldn't want to share this with anybody. I wouldn't want to share it with my neighbor. Not saying that, you can do with it whatever you want to do with it, but this is your income. It's your detail of income. It's just like a paycheck would be. It has details inside of it.
But that's a great point. Just like a paycheck, you get deductions.
Yep.
And you check those out to make sure that they are what they're supposed to be.
Yep. And at the end of the year, you're going to need this information for filing your taxes and understanding your, what revenue you made, maybe what revenue cost factors. If you're an operator or a non-operator and working interest partners, you may want to have cost versus revenue and inquiries.
Wouldn't it be good to see what taxes have already been paid on this revenue?
Absolutely. I want to see what's already been taken out for tax purposes so I can follow that through. Here we have our codes. It's an internal code, so we can see the SV. Let's see if we can find an SV up here anywhere.
Severance would be my guess, but
let's see here. I see PV. Oh,
I don't even see it in the legend.
I don't know. We're not seeing it. Maybe somebody sees it out there. But nevertheless, we can see that state withholding probably is a severance tax. And now you have your deductions and you have your net value at the end of the day. Yeah. So you come out with
gross on top, net on bottom.
That's right. 42 cents. That's what we end up making at the end of the day of this whole entire scenario. So we can see our net, and we made 42 cents. Why is this $117 check? Because it's all of these different wells at 33 cents, 26 cents. This is a small interest, 0.00002314. Is it worth it? Is the juice worth the squeeze? We'll let you guys make that determination of whether you want to do it. I recommend the juice is always worth the squeeze on any kind of detail of data that you can get. How easy can you turn this stuff into data is really the question. That's probably another man versus that we should do is some of the auto Excel changes you can do and some new features that are out there and some softwares that allow you to kind of snapshot this into tables.
Plus, there is also a soft value or an intrinsic value to having information that may not translate directly to time and money, right? But there is some benefits that are maybe a little bit harder to hold on to that I think we'll see when we get to our dashboard of why capturing this detail is beneficial.
Cool. So we got a revenue check here. We got 18 pages. We got the detail in there. Let's go show off the revenue dashboard and actually see what we're going to do with this thing. So Intellis created a revenue dashboard. This is the Intellis website, intellis.com. You'll come up to the revenue dashboard. This is the home page. You can go ahead and click on the dashboard. And it has all the information about the revenue dashboard, and it talks about income summaries, even has some little snippets from it, what it looks like, production summaries, all the different things that are built into the dashboard as it stands right now. And they even have a live demo that you can kind of play around with and check out. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no sign up for it. You just come over here, intellis.com, go to the Intellis revenue dashboard, click on the live demo, and then it's going to go ahead and pop up that live demo right now. So it's given an opportunity to load that data. And here we are. We're at an income, our first dashboard, which is the income summary screen.
And for anybody wondering, this does work on mobile devices also. You can load it on there.
Correct. You can load it on any mobile device, phone, tablet. It's all web-based, so it works on anything with a web browser.
Yep.
Are there any restrictions web browser? Like, is it better working in Bing, Google?
Oh, no.
Firefox,
Edge, Firefox,
Safari.
Chrome, Safari. We tested on Safari.
So at the end of the day,
works
everywhere from what we know. As people start to use it, if they end up with does anybody use AOL to search anymore? Is that a real thing?
Apparently 2% of the internet is still using Internet Explorer.
Did you try DuckDuckGo, to keep it private? I don't know. Nevertheless, the income summary. So the revenue dashboard is pretty cool. Right here, we have different stuff, total net revenue. This is basically for the year of 2022. You can see all the different months that are in here. You have a total revenue. You have by well, by property. We can see the Barry Allen and number 5 is doing really, really well. You can even see the sum of the value in there is carrying around the majority of the money. It even pops up as a little highlight. There's some pie charts down here kind of showing you different interests that you own from your checks that you put in. We have different bar graphs that may come through on months of revenue. So July was a little skimpy. June ends up being looking pretty good on the value.
I see there July. Yeah, let's click on July because that doesn't look good. So one thing is when you click, you'll notice everything changes.
So now we can see it go to the July 2022. I mean, is that really a problem or is it not a problem?
Yeah.
Leave it up to you at the end of the day.
We see, we didn't get paid on our top 2 producing wells, the Barry Allen and the Adam Jason. Didn't get paid on it. Now we can go ask, well, why didn't I get paid on those 2 wells during that month? And that's why that month was low.
Yep.
And then if you go to the month next to it and you see like, oh, well, maybe they caught me up the next month because I see that it's higher than, the month before had been.
Right.
So
that is true. It's not always a jump up and call the operator situation.
Right.
I recommend highly to do some investigations. Now, if you see some trends happening here where it's really high and then low, 5-6 months, you definitely need to be looking into what's going on out there. But it is very common for an operator to go from one month to another and maybe catch up on the next month due to some kind of restriction or something that happened in the world, or Lord knows it could have been shut in for that month for that person. Maybe they had to do some fixing on the well. But the income summary can be sorted. You can come through here and look at it just by the well. Now you have $5,000 for the Adam Jason. You can come in here and look at everything by the month if you want to. So there's by April. You can even choose which check number. So right over here, we have the check number. We have the owner names. Here we have the Clampets that own everything. He was outside shooting for some food and found some oil. And here we also have the different types. We have gas, oil, condensate, wet gas. You just want to see your oil money? There you go. This is a major owner that owns a lot of oil. They're not really a big gas producer. If you want to look back at your gas, you click there. Over the whole source of 2022, we got paid about $1,500 for gas. So we're a major oil player. Only a couple Bluey, my daughter's favorite cartoon. We got Hey Arnold in here. Looks like Bluey's smoking a Hey Arnold. It's a little newer, right? So this is the income summary of the dashboard. It's a great login page. It gives you a good understanding of what your asset looks like at the end of the day. And then you want to say, hey, I want to see some details. After all the information I put in, here we have the income details. And this is literally the information that you come from, a replication of the information from the revenue.
Yeah, that's just what gets uploaded, but it all gets aggregated, right? So you might upload data 1 month, the next month, 4 months down the road, you've put in all these spreadsheets, you can see it in one place.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. You can go through here and click on one well and see only that well's information. Scroll through, browse it, even subtotals the amount of money that you have inside of here. You can do it by dates. Let's say you only want to see 4/16 to 7/16. See if I can get that. Oh man, look at that. Nice. And so there's your June.
Click on that calendar icon if you want to just.
And then you can do it the easy way by actually choosing the date. I'm doing a little scroll date.
That's
right.
Good.
So I'm going to go look at all of 2022, and it's real simple. I can put that there. I can go all the way through and say, take me all the way to the river. Here it goes through the data itself is through 12/12 is what we're showing today, right? And then you have search functionalities. You can search by any of these tabs that you see right here. Just key in the name. It'll start to search the information. You can also limit it down. So we have it set to the atom. Maybe we only want to see the oil revenue.
Right.
And now we can see everything that has to do with all the oil revenue for all months that are put in here. Again, selecting the month, selecting the information, limiting that down. Until he's just working on an export of this. So you'll be able to next click on one of these buttons and actually export this out to probably Excel, CSV, something like that. So you can maybe take it around or do your own pivot tables. But technically, honestly, you don't need to do all that. It's all right here in the dashboard. That's what it's created for. So you have your income details. Again, this is we'll get into how you actually get the data in here in a minute. And then you have your volume sold. Remember, production and volume sold are different. So here now you're not looking at really money, you're looking at how much of the volume was actually sold out at the end of the day. What were we able to look at? So we have the volume by property. We have 3,881, a net of 6,267. Barry Allen, 35,000, a net of 518. So overall, we have 2,900 here on our net. You can see 2,898, rounds it up a little bit.
Click on one of those wells. It's fun. So you can see where it's coming from. You see your pie chart adjusts, your meter adjusts, everything adjusts so that you can focus in on one or multiple. If you do shift click or control click, you can do multiple, or you can do the check boxes over on the right-hand side.
So if I was at the, let's say this is a Texas well, RRC, and I'm going to go look for production information, I can load that up on my other monitor, maybe another screen, or just do the Windows dual, right? And I can see the 518.96 for the Barry Allen. Go look for the Barry Allen. What did it actually sell at the end of the day?
Well, the gross would be 35,543.
So you want to look for the gross of that and then use your percentages to find your nets. Okay. The Railroad Commission doesn't keep your percentages. It's not how it works. It's all in a gross format, and it's supposed to be reported. Little side note. Your operator has to report to the Railroad Commission.
Yes, and they're usually not like, well, it is May 1st, so get those April numbers in.
That's right.
It might be June or July.
So we rely on the prudent operators to be prudent and do the right thing. There are some out there that are late, I've come to find out. So, with me, I can do this on a monthly basis. I may want to do this on a quarterly basis. I may want to do this biannually. It just really kind of depends, in my opinion, how much money and how much do you have to deal with? You know, if you're a royalty owner with 10 wells, do you need to do this every single month? I'm not going to say no to it. I mean, keeping up with things makes things easier as you go along, but you could do it every 3 months. You could slap all the data together and get it into the dashboard on every quarter and then look at it once a quarter and load this up. Cool thing is that from no matter where you are, you're able to look at this thing. You're able to pull it up on your phone. You're able to pull it up on your tablet and your mobile devices from your laptops, whatever you're doing. So if you finally get a hold of that operator, you want to talk apples and apples, you have something that you can talk to them about. Yeah. Even more so, you can even give them some of this information and show them what you're capturing, what you're doing, having an open communication. It does.
Yeah, it gives you, and also, maybe you get those checks in there as quick as possible. It's a matter of how fine of a control you want on having this information readily available.
Absolutely. So what we found is that we find a lot of people not tracking their royalty checks, and even large entities and people who make lots of money just don't track them. They're depositing them.
Mailbox money, right?
It's been mailbox money. As conveyance happens, maybe death and decedent happens, people pass away. Inheritance, you come into play. I don't know how many times I've seen children of family pick up oil and gas investment through inheritance, and it's just a mess. And they want to make sense of it, and they can't. They can't understand what's going on. They have to go back and do the legwork to get this in. So this does require some work. It's something that you would have to do, but it's totally DIY. This whole thing doesn't really depend. It does not depend on anybody but you filling out the Excel template and uploading your information.
Yeah, this is a tool for the landowner or royalty check receiver to be able to help make sense of their data, and that's it. Here, let me see.
Will just work. We have to actually get an app.
Yeah.
So what you do normally is you just get a revenue template. It's an Excel template that you can fill out the same information that was on that royalty check that we just saw.
20 columns in it. 12 are required.
That's right. Right. How many again? About 20 columns total. Allows you to capture everything. Until he sat down and said, okay, what if you just want to do a minimum amount of work? We came up to about 12 things. Most of it being the property, the name, the interest, and you're just basically capturing net volume information, not really capturing your individual deductions, things like that.
Right. Yeah. You're just getting your net paid. You're not tracking basically the other two tabs.
So the system doesn't mandate that you capture everything.
No.
But if you don't put it in, you're not going to get it.
That's right.
And that's the key. I think that's the key with everything. If you don't put it in, you're not going to get it back.
Yeah, can't report on.
So this really isn't any different from anybody else at the end of the day. But you never know. You may be $1,000 a month royalty owner that just wants to track how much money you got coming in. You're not really concerned about those taxes at the end of the day. You don't have any big deductions. You don't have a net situation happening like a working interest partner. And I like what Kyle's doing there. He's holding down the shift key and he's actually selecting different wells to combine them together. This can be very helpful at times when you have wells all in one area. Sometimes certain wells can become part of a bigger unit. Sometimes that you see production by well, or you want to see what's the differences are, or maybe why one well right next to each other is doing so well, but the other one is not doing so well with the same operator. These are all questions that you want to start asking. Now, we'll warn everybody, if you're using a tool like this out there, be strategic about what problems are real, what problems may just be business as usual. If you call your operator every single month, you're going to end up on a blacklist probably somehow. Not that they have a blacklist. I'm just using it as an example. But, I have known the people on the other end of the phone to go, oh, boy, that's Chris calling again. Yeah. He's going to tell me about the well and what he's seen. It's not really worth it to do it on a month-to-month basis because you really don't know what's going on at the end of the day. You can spend a ton of time trying to figure that out, and you may never even get the answer at the end of the day.
Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets greased. Sometimes the squeaky wheel gets put on the bottom of the to-do list.
Yeah, you don't want to be the bottom of the to-do list to any revenue accountant or division order analyst out there. There's lots of ways. But being an informed owner is, I think, something that's a little bit of a change in the industry. Yes. With the amount of data that's out there, with the amount of things like tools like this, the ability to capture information, to become more informed. And I think that's where we are. We're in the age of information. We're in the age of gathering our information. We're in the age of being able to look and understand. And we have the right to look and understand. Yeah. I mean, that's what that lease gives you. You're not just a landowner. You're not just a royalty owner. You have the right to inspect what's happening. Just like as an employee has a right to inspect their paycheck and find out whether their hours were correct, or whether the salary was correct, or whether the bonus was correct, or the healthcare deduction was proper, or whatever it may be. You're the right to audit those type of things. You're not going to have oil and gas companies coming out to you. They're not going to be calling you and telling you when things are shut in. They're not going to be sending you information about why you didn't get paid for month to month. It's up to you to do your diligence and find out what all that is. This is a wonderful tool for anybody to use. It's open. Again, it's a very DIY. Are there ways that you can import from other sources like CDEX? Yes, it does have ability to take some of those in. Intellis also has other services that it can offer to help you get information quite quicker and faster. But mainly, we're not here to talk about services and all that stuff. We're here to say that there's a product out there that if you took that template, you started filling it out, had somebody fill it out, no matter what it is, then on that note, you're good to go. And so you can do this by yourself if you want to. Yeah. Spend a couple hours a week, a month, and you can key that information in, minimally 12 things up to about 20. Here today on Man vs. Tech, we're going to throw out something that Intellis gave us an opportunity, which is if you're interested in the dashboard, I want to be able to show everybody what it actually looks like. So we're going to kind of walk out of the dashboard real quick, but you can go into the dashboard itself and you can sign up. And so you can stick in your well count here. There's some preloaded ones, unlimited. There's different prices. But today in Intellis, if you go in and you type in Man V Tech, all in caps, that's MANVTECH, all caps. Intellis is willing, if you have 10 wells or less, to let you use it for free. So you can go ahead and sign right up. Right now, it's what is that? $89.99 a month for what is that? How many wells is that one?
That's the 10.
That's the 10 wells. If you use the Man V Tech code, you stay within the 10 wells. You can use this tracker. It's no cost to you.
Free.
Pretty cool for Intellis to get it out there to the people. If you go into 11, I believe what they'll do is they'll just start charging you the monthly rate that happens. It's an automatic type of situation. You can see what the pricing is up front. And then if you want to talk to Intellis about different ways of helping you manage the dashboard or working with the dashboard, they have different solutions for that as well. But mainly, again, DIY, something created, anybody can use. There's more dashboards coming from Intellis. Yep. I'm really excited about what the Jib one looks like, adding a total package so you can do nets and grosses and deductions and see what your bills all look like and have everything in one place. A lot of accounting systems have this information. Most oil and gas accounting systems work off of this type of information. Like when you key a revenue check in or you import it, it goes in by well, by property. It associates it all in the system. What I found is a lot of those accounting systems, no dig at them, just don't have a great dashboard to show you at the end of the day. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them you have to take all the information out to Excel and maybe you create your own. So talk with your accounting software, see if they can do things like this. You may not even need the Intellis dashboard at the end of the day.
Maybe not.
But most royalty owners don't have a OGSIS or a Wolfpack or something like a major accounting system. And QuickBooks doesn't do things like this.
No.
Zero Accounting, Sage, they don't have a way to track oil and gas royalties at the end of the day.
If you got a farm or a ranch and you've got 2, 3, 4 wells on there, this is a perfect solution.
Yeah.
And if you've got a mineral buying company, those have become really popular. Venture capital's gotten in on it. If you've got dozens or even hundreds of wells, this can be a really good tool that even ERP solutions don't give you the same reporting capabilities.
That's correct. I mean, I deal with them all the time, almost every major one, and almost all of them I'm pulling it out to Excel and creating dashboards for clients and customers, mainly because they like to see it in their way. Not a knock to any of the accounting softwares at all. They want to skin the cat differently. They have their own opinions, and the general way is not really there. This is also very static. You can talk to Intellis about maybe making some changes to it, or maybe doing certain things your way. You have to talk with them about that scenario, about what that looks like. But overall, it really does capture most of what I would expect to see, what most of the clients that I've ever served expect to see. And it's just another way for you to look at your data and be more informed. So it's something for the little guy, the medium guy, hey, the big guy too. I mean, anybody can use this thing if you're willing to put a little elbow grease into it and actually take it out at the end of the day. And again, you can look at it from any mobile device, any device you have. It's all web-based. So it's a really exciting thing to talk about, oil and gas royalty revenue. hey, it's the paycheck at the end of the day for what you own, right?
It's why you took the lease.
It's why you took the lease. It's why grandpa bought the property.
Yeah. It's why the oil company even came there in the first place.
That's right. That is exactly correct. So I think maybe, for our audience that's out there, if you watch this, if you leave in the comments, give us any comments that you have. Ask us any questions that you have. You can find us on YouTube. We have our Intelli's YouTube channel. You have Man vs. Tech on LinkedIn Live. Of course, you can comment on LinkedIn. You always see my post, Kyle's post. Reach us out directly. Contact Chris or Kyle, no matter which way you want to go. And we can have more of a conversation. Maybe there's something that Intelli's needs to do better. Maybe you have a great idea you'd like to see certain things in. Yeah. I know the gang over there, they're really, really great at listening to customers and trying to figure out exactly which way things want to be seen and do. So take a look, peruse around. You can do it for free. The dashboard's there to play with. You can kind of mess with it. And if you're really interested in it, again, the code is MANVTech, all caps. You stick that in, 10 wells and below, you get free.
Yep.
Pretty awesome to start it up with. We hope that you guys enjoyed our Man vs. Tech webcast today, talking about oil and gas royalties and royalty checks and royalty check payouts and the Intelli's revenue dashboard. More to come with that. You'll see more to come on Man vs. Tech on what happens next with these guys over at Intelli's. If you would like to showcase some of your information or your software on Man vs. Tech, reach out to Kyle and I.
Absolutely.
We'd be more than happy to invite any other vendors that are out there, people that may want to show off their stuff, do a Man vs. Tech about your software and what you got going on. So as with the end of every Man vs. Tech, we always like to ask the question, in this case, who wins, Kyle, man or tech?
Oh, tech, because for a human to have to figure all this information out that the dashboard can do, that 17-page check, I've seen revenue checks that were hundreds of pages for $1.
It's $25.
It's too much information to have to aggregate yourself and try to make sense of and visualize over time. Having these charts just makes it way easier.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with you. I think tech pulls it off on this one. The royalty check is not anything new. It's from the dawn of exploration of oil and gas. It's always been around. And here we are in 2023, really starting to see software applications start to attack the details of that and get people informative. So, the tech is helping man become more knowledgeable. And having these things and broadcast to us in a nice package, not everything being separated or staring at those royalty checks one by one on a conference table. Being able to dashboard that information into an application really helps out. So here's another tech piece coming in, again, assisting man in what they're going to do at the end of the day. But this is a tech win in my eyes.
Yep, I concur.
Cool. Well, that's Man vs. Tech for Wednesday. Kyle Souza, Chris Pettigrew. We will be back next week to talk about more technology and cool things that come to our thoughts, whichever way we want to talk. Who knows what's coming next, but please join us live on all of our channels. And everybody have a blessed week. Enjoy yourselves and enjoy what's coming up with the nice hot weather we got coming.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.